Have you ever found yourself stuck in a loop, thinking about the same thing over and over again? Maybe it was a conversation you had last week, an important decision you need to make, or even a tiny mistake that no one else noticed, but your brain just won't let it go. Welcome back to Science and Psychology. Today, we're exploring something we all deal with, whether we admit it or not: overthinking. Why does it happen? What's going on inside your brain when you can't stop thinking? And most importantly, how can you break the cycle? Stick around, because understanding the science of overthinking might just help you change the way you think. What is overthinking? Let's start with the basics. Overthinking is what psychologists call rumination. It's when your brain gets stuck in a repetitive, often negative thought pattern. You replay the past, you worry about the future. You analyze situations from every angle, hoping to find clarity, but usually ending up more anxious and confused. Sound familiar? You're not alone. In fact, studies suggest that over 70% of adults experience regular episodes of overthinking. It's a common human tendency. And in small doses, thinking things through can be useful. It helps us learn from mistakes and plan for the future. But when thinking turns into overthinking, it crosses a line, and that's when it starts to hurt us. Why do we overthink? Evolutionary roots. To understand why we overthink, we need to take a quick trip back in time, thousands of years ago. Back then, our ancestors lived in dangerous environments. A missed threat could mean life or death. So, the human brain evolved to be a prediction machine. It constantly scanned for dangers and tried to imagine possible outcomes. In other words, thinking ahead equaled survival. Fast forward to today, we no longer face saber-toothed tigers, but we still have that ancient brain. And it still tries to protect us. Only now it worries about things like career moves, relationships, and social status. When your brain perceives uncertainty or a potential threat, whether it's a job interview or an awkward text message, it kicks into high gear. You start running through what-if scenarios. This can quickly spiral into overthinking because, unlike physical dangers, modern problems are rarely clear-cut or immediately solvable. The neuroscience of overthinking. So, what happens inside your brain when you overthink? Let's break it down. Two major brain regions are involved: the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for reasoning, planning, and decision-making; the default mode network, a network of brain areas that activates when you're not focused on the outside world, such as when you're daydreaming or reflecting. When you overthink, the DMN lights up. This is your brain's autopilot mode, and it's great for creativity and introspection. But it also fuels repetitive thinking. Meanwhile, your prefrontal cortex tries to solve the perceived problem, but when it can't find a quick solution, it keeps the loop going. To make matters worse, overthinking activates your amygdala, the brain's fear center. This triggers stress hormones like cortisol, making you feel anxious and physically tense. In short, your brain gets caught in a feedback loop. The more you think, the more anxious you feel, and the more anxious you feel, the harder it is to stop thinking. It's exhausting, but it's also completely normal. Types of overthinking. Now, not all overthinking looks the same. Psychologists generally distinguish between two main types. 1. Rumination about the past. This involves dwelling on mistakes, regrets, or things you wish you'd done differently. It often sounds like, "Why did I say that? What if I had chosen a different path? I can't believe I messed that up." 2. Worrying about the future. This is focused on uncertainty about what's ahead. What if this goes wrong? What if they don't like me? What if I fail? Both types engage the same brain systems, and both can sap your mental energy, damage your mood, and even affect your physical health. Why overthinking feels so addictive? Here's something surprising. Overthinking can feel addictive. Why? Because your brain craves certainty. It hates unresolved problems. So when you encounter uncertainty, like not knowing if you'll get a promotion or whether a relationship will work out, your brain keeps spinning the mental wheels, trying to reach a sense of closure. But most real-world problems are complex. There's no perfect answer. So the thinking loop continues, giving you an illusion of control, even though it's really making you feel worse. In fact, brain scans show that overthinkers often have hyperactivity in the prefrontal cortex, which leads to excessive analysis and second-guessing. It's a brain caught between logic and emotion, and that's what makes overthinking so hard to stop. Now let's talk about why it matters. Overthinking doesn't just waste time, it has real consequences. Mental health. Overthinking is strongly linked to anxiety and depression. People who ruminate excessively are more likely to develop these conditions and find it harder to recover from them. Sleep. If you've ever laid awake at 2 a.m. thinking about a conversation from earlier that day, you've experienced how overthinking disrupts sleep. Sleep deprivation, in turn, worsens anxiety and fuels more overthinking, creating another vicious cycle. Decision-making. Overthinkers often experience analysis paralysis, where they can't make a decision because they're stuck considering every possible outcome. This can lead to missed opportunities and regret. Physical health. Chronic stress from overthinking raises cortisol levels, which can weaken the immune system, increase blood pressure, and contribute to a range of health problems. How to stop overthinking? Practical strategies. Here's the good news. You can train your brain to break free from the overthinking loop. It takes practice, but it works. Here are some science-backed techniques. 1. Name it to tame it. When you catch yourself overthinking, label it. Oh, I'm overthinking again. This simple act engages your prefrontal cortex and helps you step back from the thought loop. 2. Shift to action. Overthinking thrives on passivity. Ask yourself, what's one small action I can take right now? Even a tiny step, like writing an email draft or making a phone call, gives your brain a sense of progress. 3. Practice mindfulness. Mindfulness meditation trains your brain to stay present and observe thoughts without getting caught in them. Studies show that regular mindfulness reduces rumination and strengthens attention control. 4. Limit unstructured thinking time. It's okay to reflect, but give yourself a time limit. For example, I'll think about this for 10 minutes, then move on. This prevents endless